Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal why American Jews are turning against Israel and towards the Palestinian resistance. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. It's now been more than 400 days since Israel launched its genocidal campaign in Gaza, which has killed more than 50,000 Palestinians and made the Strip unlivable for decades. But please, do not confuse this destruction for an Israeli victory, because in annihilating the Palestinian territory, Israel has succeeded only in destroying itself and with it the Zionist ideology. The Palestinian resurgence has only just begun, because the entire world has now turned against Israel. But if you're looking for the final nail, that forever seals shut the coffin that carries the Zionist state's decrepit body, then look no further than this headline here. It reads as the sum total of Israel's worst nightmare, with more than 35% of American Jewish teenagers now expressing sympathy with the Palestinian resistance and opposition to the Jewish state. This has to be the most extraordinary thing I've witnessed in the 15 years I have covered the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a journalist. The result from this survey represents a future-defining moment, a future in which the Palestinian people ultimately emerge victorious. Because there's just no other way to interpret the fact that more than 66% of American Jews now sympathize with the Palestinian people as a whole. And it's important to understand that these polls weren't conducted by a liberal or progressive group in the United States, but by the Israeli government itself, which now must be choking on these results. One respondent said that being a Jewish American means standing up against the Israeli government and practicing values that have been instilled in us since Hebrew school. To be Jewish is to expand compassion and empathy and humanity for everyone, whether they are in Washington, D.C., or New York, or Gaza, end quote. Therefore, it's impossible to deny that Israel's 14-month onslaught in Gaza, along with its worsening treatment of Palestinians in the West Bank, hasn't caused American Jews to shift their attitudes towards the Zionist state. This changing reality was perfectly captured in the recently released documentary, Israelism, which uniquely explores how Jewish attitudes towards Israel are changing dramatically, and how young American Jews are redefining Judaism's relationship with the so-called Jewish state. More importantly, Israelism shows how anti-Zionist Jews are no longer a fringe minority, but a fast-growing majority, as explained by the documentary's producers.
We're really trying to show a mirror to our own community, and really show our community, the progressive American Jewish community, that we are not fringe, that we are not a tiny proportion of American Jews. We are actually a massive proportion, and that our views are incredibly humane and are actually aligned with the Jewish values of social justice and fighting oppression. So I think we're really trying to show our own community that we're not alone, that we're not fringe, that we are just as Jewish as anybody else. And in fact, we are doing this work because of our Jewish history and because of our Jewish values. And I think we're also trying to show the rest of the world, especially Palestinians, that we are behind you, that we are with you. And that, again, to fight for Jewish values means to fight for Palestinian freedom in this moment.
American Jews who support democratic values and human rights are shocked and horrified to discover that their Jewish counterparts in Israel not only endorse the Zionist state's criminal occupation, but also its system of apartheid and genocide. Put differently, an overwhelming majority of American Jews now oppose Zionism because they see how Zionism has radicalized Israeli Jews into violence and genocide.
Don't want to be friends with Zionists because all of the Zionist friends that you made along the years turned out to be genocidal, and so you're alone. It's a very lonely position here to be anti-Zionists. We're alone in so much hatred and bigotry, and we need this community to not lose our senses that everyone around us are completely genocidal maniacs. Everyone around you. And I don't mean it, no, metaphorically. It's not metaphorically. It's literally everybody. It will be your family. It will be your teachers. It will be your colleagues. Everyone around you. So you're alone.
American Jews are waking up and discovering that Israel is not only a criminal settler colonial state, but also that it commits genocide and ethnic cleansing in the name of Judaism. So to counter Zionism's hijacking of the Jewish faith, American Jews are at the forefront of pro-Palestinian protests in the United States. remembering that thousands of Jews marched on Washington, D.C. to protest the arrival of Benjamin Netanyahu, demand an immediate ceasefire, and call for an end to all arms sales to Israel. And they did this knowing they would face criminal charges and/or heavy financial penalties. Put simply, American Jews hate Israel for its brazen criminality.
What could be more dangerous to Jewish people right now than lumping us all in with this genocidal campaign of the Israeli government? We want a world where perpetrators of war crimes are held accountable. We want a world in which all people can live safely in their homes. That is both because of the lessons that we've taken from our own history and because of the world that we are fighting for today, that we want for all people, not just for Jews.
Now, I want to make this next point carefully, because I don't want it to come across unnecessarily critical of anybody who has lent their support to Gaza during the past year or so. But when you understand how American Jews are turning against Israel, and when you also understand how the state of Israel cannot survive without full and enthusiastic support from American Jews, then you will also recognize how actual anti-Semitic narratives are self-defeating and therefore hurting the pro-Palestinian cause. I'm specifically referring to far-right grifters who are using Zionist war crimes to launder their hatred towards the Jewish people, like this ignorant racist fool did on Piers Morgan last week when he deceptively and dishonestly minimized the horrors of the Holocaust by implying the Nazis killed far fewer Jews than credible historians claim. I'm not going to air his comments because I don't give oxygen to white racist frauds. But know that they're using their growing platforms to spread hatred against Muslims whenever the opportunity arises, like Andrew Tate and Jake Shields did during the recent anti-Muslim riots in the United Kingdom. But more to the point, their actual hostility towards Jews and Judaism plays directly into Israel's hands, allowing Zionists to say, see, pro-Palestinian supporters are not concerned with human rights and justice, but instead are motivated by hatred of the Jewish people. Therefore, Holocaust denialism and minimalization doesn't help Palestine one little bit, and succeeds only in reinforcing Zionist propaganda, which in turn scares Jewish Americans away from the pro-Palestinian cause. And as I stated earlier, an end to Jewish support in the United States will put a permanent end to the state of Israel. So please, I urge you, be smart and strategic with your pro-Palestinian activism. Particularly because we have Israel on the ropes, now that the entire world has turned against it, as evident in the way its Western allies have affirmed the decision of the International Criminal Court to charge Israel with genocide and issue arrest warrants for its leaders. This growing united front has sent the United States into a desperate tailspin. It's now even threatening to punish its closest allies in servitude of the dying Zionist state.
So to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC, we're going to sanction you.
Well, that means I want every ally, and you saw little Justin in Canada and his position. What should the penalty be?
We should crush your economy because we're next.
Looming diplomatic isolation and current economic collapse has not only forced upwards of 2 million Israelis to grab their passports and flee towards their home countries, but also prompted military leaders to warn of a civil war. So, no matter how many ways you slice and dice the data, the ending to this story remains unchanged. The state of Israel dies, and soon. But, despite this good news and our small victories, it's important to recognize that winter approaches in Gaza, which means people will not only die because of airstrikes, disease or hunger, but also will die freezing to death in the cold, with the young and elderly especially vulnerable. Therefore, we must continue to fight. We must maintain our energy and focus until Palestine is free. But that's all my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and stay blessed.